Hello, and welcome to Yoga Chat with Nikki, the podcast that explores the practice of yoga and life beyond the practice. And now for your host, Nikki Estrada.
Welcome to Yoga Chat with Nikki. This is going to be a once monthly podcast on all things related to yoga. This is Greg. He is my sidekick here in the Yoga Chat with Nikki. I'll introduce a little bit about myself and then I'll introduce Greg as well. I started yoga when I was in college at UC Santa Barbara and I was about 20. So this will give you my age, but it's been about 23 years of super dedicated practice and I still love all things yoga. I fell into teaching about 4 years after that. I had gone to Mysore and studied with Pattabhi Jois and came home and never thought I would teach, but really kind of got pulled into it. I was asked to do a teacher training with Eric Schiffman and Sarah Powers, and from that point on, things just flew, and it was clear I was in my passion and was doing what I was supposed to be doing. I taught at Yoga Studio, which is here in the Bay Area. It's no longer Yoga Studio, but it was originally a one-room studio owned by one woman, and she sold it, and Joan Barnes took it to 3 studios, one in Mill Valley, one in Larkspur, and one in San Francisco. And then about 6 years ago, it was purchased by YogaWorks and became 2 locations in Marin, San Francisco, and then one in Walnut Creek. So that's a little bit about me. It's been 19 years of teaching.
It's a little bit about YogaWorks.
A little bit about YogaWorks because it's getting us into the topic that we're heading into. And I currently study with Rod Stryker in the Para-Yoga tradition and the lineage of the Himalayan sages and Pandit Rajamani Tigunayat. So that's my yoga background. Greg here is also a yogi, but I know him more as like a techno wizard. All
Sounds
things technical and, no, not a techno DJ. All things technical in the computer world, but also a dad and a comedian. So I'll let you introduce.
I think you did it perfectly. I'm more interested in learning you're 43.
We'll get there.
We arrived.
We arrived. So Greg's my co-host
Yes.
for all things yoga related.
Yes.
And today the topic of our podcast, our first podcast, is the big bad yoga buyout. For those of you that don't live in the Bay Area, YogaWorks bought YogaTree, which is another, people don't call it that, but a chain of yoga studios here in San Francisco, one in Marin and one in the East Bay. And ever since that happened in our little yoga world over here in the Bay Area, it's been a really big deal, and we've seen lots of social media stuff and just a lot of stuff going on around it. So I thought, perfect, for the first podcast, this is really good fodder for a lot of questions. What is corporate yoga? Can we combine yoga and business? Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? Are we losing the spirit of yoga? All those questions that honestly many of us have had for a long time anyway. But this big change has kind of stirred the pot, so to speak. So that's the topic we're here to chat about. I've got 2 amazing yogis with me to talk about it. Lisa Maria, who I've known for many years. She's a yoga teacher, a mom. She's also, what's your title? Head of workshops?
Workshop manager for YogaWorks, Northern California.
Yep, so she works for YogaWorks, as do I, as also director of teacher training, and I'm a teacher at YogaWorks. And then Dave, who I've also known for quite a while, who is a yoga teacher for YogaWorks and has taught at a lot of other studios too.
I have, yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
So anything else you want to say about yourself?
I wish I could say, well, I'm like at a loss of words for now, but no.
He's just an extraordinary person all around,
Yeah.
on top of his yoga
Yeah.
yoga
I love
credentials.
teaching yoga. It's an awesome thing, but yeah.
Cool.
Legit.
Okay, so my first question is, when the announcement happened,
Drum roll.
How much money
Yeah.
was made?
yeah,
Yeah.
I haven't found that out yet.
How much
I
did it
haven't
cost?
found that out yet.
how much did it cost?
I don't
right?
know. I don't know.
No, the big question I have is, what have you guys seen? What has been the response? By and large, when the announcement, I know on the YogaWorks end, everybody that was at YogaWorks the day it was announced was like, woohoo, we're a bigger family now. How cool that, the brand or the company that was seen as our competitors is now part of our family. That was the internal response I saw. What did you guys see and hear out there, Facebook and text messages and word of mouth?
I'll let you speak first.
Okay, I'll speak first. I saw a lot of people grieving their YogaTree community, to be quite honest. And that's completely understandable. It's a huge change. It's a massive change. YogaTree's been around since the 90s. And Tim and Tara Dale, the original owners, created something really powerful in that through YogaTree. They created a massive community of people that was really connected globally. They were connected to really powerful senior teachers. They had an incredible teacher training, all kinds of events and workshops. And so to me, it's totally natural that there would be a lot of reactions. And I think that it was hard for me to see some of the reactions, the public reactions of some of the yoga teachers, because I feel it's really important as a yoga teacher to really model the best that you can in your behavior publicly as a teacher. Of course, take your private feelings to your friends, but Facebook can become so snarky and people can just spin out on that energy. So it was a little painful to see some of the judging that was happening, because I've worked for YogaWorks for almost 6 years, and I know the people that work at YogaWorks, and all my experiences have been very positive. So it was a little painful for me on those levels. But I understand it. I get it. I understand it. I don't expect perfection from anybody.
I'm with you 100%. I mean, that was my feeling. I didn't see a lot of really disrespectful things, but more subtly disrespectful things.
Yeah.
And I have to say, it kind of hurt my feelings a little bit, because, there's these big comments being thrown out like, oh my God, it's corporate yoga. Here comes the Starbucks of yoga. And I'm like, excuse me, but everybody I know, like, I've been practicing for 23 years and it doesn't get more dedicated than me. I integrate yoga into all areas of my life. I mean, my whole life is really about the yoga practice, and everyone I know at YogaWorks is like that. We're all super dedicated.
Right.
It's yogis actually that are predominantly running the business.
Yes.
And to be met with such assumptions was a little bit hurtful to me personally, because I don't know anyone at YogaWorks that doesn't really care about what we're doing. Greg
has something to say.
Sounding a little bit like it's becoming a propaganda talk, like, well, my feelings were hurt by you guys. So done.
I'm a human being. I'm
Right.
a human being.
Right.
I am a yoga teacher, but I am not a perfect person. I'm not a perfect, evolved, I'm bigger than all of it. I'm not there. These are people I know and love that have become like my family.
But there's some bottom line things, like YogaTree's a business.
Yes.
YogaWorks is a business.
Yeah.
Yes.
The person who owned YogaTree
Yes.
made a decision to sell it.
Yes.
Like, so there's no fault to be found. Someone who owns something sold it.
I agree. The question I have, actually, to me, what was so ironic in my experience of this was the week before the buyout was announced, I was at YogaTree taking a workshop with my teacher, and having a great weekend there. And we had a workbook we were using. It was Rod Stryker's 4 Desires workshop. And in the workbook, when you open it up, somewhere in the midst of it, big, bold letters at the top, the hardest yoga that any of us are ever going to do is change.
Right.
And I'm going to keep it real. Not all teachers. I saw some really integrated teachers post some really evolved responses.
Yes.
But so there's a change happening. Where's your yoga? There's a big change happening. Right. Where's the yoga? Why is there so much fear and negative assumption? Negative assumption.
I can speak to that because I went through a lot of fear. In fact, I came in from a very highly loaded interaction, and I was racked with fear, and I was in tears to the point where I couldn't teach. And you were in the back room. And I was in the back room having not a full meltdown, but I would say it qualified for like a mini meltdown. And I was in a lot of fear because all of this restructuring that's happening didn't mean to me that I was guaranteed a job, didn't mean to me that I was guaranteed anything. And I was wrestling with that question of like, how do I integrate these 2 paths of my life, yoga and business? Because in order to be in this world, in this plane, I have to do both.
And anybody out there teaching yoga has to do that now.
Yeah.
We have to deal with yoga and business.
Yeah. Well, this is the Bay Area. This is, I mean,
Well,
you can't escape it. It's,
well, anywhere in
choices.
America now. Anywhere in America
Yeah,
now.
totally.
And when I was at the Himalayan Institute, Panditji talked about this, that when yoga first landed here in America, no money was ever charged for yoga. It was all donation based, meaning a space would be donated and people would teach for free and nobody paid for yoga.
Didn't that woman, what's her name? Diva?
Indra Devi?
Debbie, wasn't she the one who's said to have brought yoga to the United States?
Different
She
people brought
wasn't
it
the
at different
first.
times.
She wasn't the first.
The Vivekananda.
But we are in a new era
100
now.
years ago. Yes.
Where yoga is big business. This is a new era in the last 30 years.
Yoga is big business.
Well,
that's
it
going to
has.
scare some people.
Well,
right
it's
there.
officially an industry. Yoga
It's
is
a massive
officially-
industry.
Right.
Yeah.
And I have to say that, hell yeah.
Well, that's just.
I feel like this is an opportunity for yoga to take over in a huge way. This is like the ultimate Trojan horse.
Okay, so first of all, it's industry
Take
and
that.
negative. That's what I think is
Well, that's the
industry
thing.
and negative.
What is corporate yoga?
What is I don't know what corporate yoga is, because I mean,
Dave, what is corporate yoga?
corporate yoga, it's a big business. It's I think in people's eyes, outside of the whole scene, it's like this evil entity.
Yes.
And when I first got the news, I was flipping on my phone, of course, checking my emails, and then I get this email like, hey, this is the announcement. I was like speechless, totally speechless. I was like, wow. And one side of me was like really excited, like cool, I get to finally like teach at YogaTree. I can like sub classes there, and
Yeah, it opens up a
like,
whole new world,
I can,
right?
Yeah, without paying a drop-in fee, because us teachers are broke. But it's not easy being a yoga teacher here in the Bay Area.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, I was a bit scared for. I knew what was going to happen. First of all, I'd like to say I'm a big supporter of the mom and pop, shops and independent, store owners, whatever. And I actually, honestly, I cheer for those who don't sell out to the big corporates.
You guys are using so many negative words, like sell out, like that's a negative.
Well, I mean,
and
not people that hold on to the business and like stick it out and like I'm gonna do this, and of course you have like big companies like YogaWorks coming in like, hey, we'd like to, purchase
But
your...
what about that it's fantastic that Tara and Tim put their blood, sweat, and tears into the business for all those years, and now they get to give it to YogaWorks and they get to reap the benefits financially and spiritually, and now someone else with a lot of money can manage it and expand that. It's good for them.
And in business deal, it goes both ways. You have one person that wants to buy something, you have another person that's going to agree or disagree or not go along with the program. Like, no, I don't want to sell it yet. But I think what people are seeing is that, that here you have Tim and Tara, who built this beautiful thing, this beautiful community in the Bay Area. Blood, sweat, and tears. They put all their love into it, and it's flourished. And here comes this, the evil entity, the corporate,
right?
yoga studio coming in and just capitalizing.
So don't you think, this is my question then, don't you think the fear, Lisa, the fear that we're seeing displayed in a not so beautiful way sometimes, is that corporate yoga, your job is going to be taken away, you're going to be told how you have to teach, it's going to be cookie cutter programming, there's only going to be one way of doing everything, it's always only about the bottom line? Is that what the fear is, do you think?
Yeah, I think that definitely is a good start on labeling the fear. And
has that happened for us? We
No.
went through Yoga Studio, becoming YogaWorks.
We were acquired by YogaWorks when we were with Yoga Studio.
Yeah.
And I was with Yoga Studio since 2000.
Why are you laughing?
Because I just picture Stepford wives. We are all very happy. I'm just teasing it. But here,
Well,
no, I thought you all really are. Like, there's this. I think there's a lot of trains of thought that are unconscious about corporations, blood, sweat, and tears. Starbucks is Starbucks because someone poured their blood, sweat, and tears into a great cup of coffee that you could go and you could order it no matter where you are. That was blood, sweat, and tears. And maybe they're a nice person to hang out with, and maybe they aren't. Same with YogaWorks and YogaTree, and
It's very true.
and I think there's an element that hasn't been talked about yet, but you mentioned at the introduction about spirituality and commerce. And I think there's a clash just internally. Everyone sort of has a clash with that, and this is bringing that up.
I think that's the challenge. And any of us that are out there teaching, we have to deal with that on a regular basis. I mean, that is the real, is how am I authentic and how am I honoring the tradition of yoga and the spiritual piece of it, and how am I going to do that and fill my class with people? Because the truth is, if the class isn't filled with people, then no one's happy, right? You're paid based on how many people show up. The studio wants to have a teacher that people want to be with. So the real is that all of us face that, and it never goes away. It is always a numbers game. It's a numbers game for us when we step into that room to teach. It's a numbers game for the studio, right? To actually pay the rent. I've crunched the numbers. It's a tough business.
Yeah.
It's not an easy business. So I think that question is, this is what I'd like to ask us all and everybody out there that's tuning in for this. How do we reconcile spiritual practices and money? They're never going to be separated again. Not in America.
Maybe, I don't know. Never's a long time.
Not in America, I don't see it.
we don't know the scope of the world. Bottom line, we don't know how long the world is, we just don't know. We just don't know. We are looking at all of this through a very limited lens. And there's a much bigger spiritual perspective going on. There's a much more timeless, infinite experience unfolding. And this piece, to me, is just, it doesn't really matter what the experience is. It's a rub. It's an edge where we get to grow spiritually. And we get to use this material as a way to continually improve and to become the yoga, to become closer to the yoga, whatever that is for you. And it is a call. It's a call to expand and mature spiritually, because this is Maya. This is the world. This is how it is. Why fight what is? That's insanity. This is what is happening. And so we do our best to show up and speak our truth and live our truth and consult with our trusted advisors to become better human beings. And we, like Jesus said, we live in the world, but we are not of the world. The Bhagavad Gita talks about we do our dharma. We're here doing our dharma. We plant the seeds. I would rather be here with my experience. Same with Dave, same with you. I would rather see the teachers teaching at YogaWorks that are teaching than to see a crop of fresh graduates just running wild. Because that's what happens in a lot of places that don't have standards. Not to judge, but just to put it out there. YogaWorks is doing a lot of really powerful things. And look, I'm wearing different hats. I have my YogaWorks manager workshop hat. I have my YogaWorks teacher hat. I have just my teacher hat. I'm also a writer, and I've written articles about this topic before I even worked for YogaWorks. So I have really wrestled with this topic, and it's something that continually takes me back to how can I improve as a human being and be a better human being, no matter where I'm planted.
And it's guaranteed to change. I mean, that's
always
the guarantee.
Yeah. And when people say, "Oh, what's happening? That's not yogic," it's like, sorry, change is life. Yogis are using these technologies to manage life and emotions skillfully.
I was a little disappointed by some of the reactions. I didn't think people were using their yoga. It's like, oh, my yoga applies over here, but it doesn't apply when corporate yoga buys us.
Yeah, but that's understandable. Somebody changes a major piece of your life so quickly, and the fear that comes up, it's natural. It's kind of takes you back to your lower chakras,
It's natural. It's 100%
right?
natural.
It does.
But the difference is owning that that's what's happening.
Yes.
The difference is owning that I'm scared and this makes me nervous and this is why, because I don't know what's happening. That's very different from, a lot of negative assumption and it's them, the bad guys are here to take away the real yoga. That's a very different response.
Okay, so as two managers sitting here, because one thing that I hear is there's not a transparency of communication in a corporate entity. And I'm wondering, is that because it has to be that way?
I don't agree with that.
What are you talking
Well,
about?
for instance, I don't think that the reactions of the YogaTree teachers would be that strong if they were a part of the process of communication as this was happening.
Well, nobody was. I mean,
someone was.
Yes, and there was a small group of people involved in the transaction, and when it was appropriate to bring more people in, they did.
But that's what I'm wondering about, appropriateness. For instance, as we talk about growing as a human, I know there's things where I'm not comfortable bringing it up. I'm not comfortable talking about it, but I know it's for the best. It's like we're talking about being that yogi.
Right.
So you take the step. Can a corporation really be transparent? When the talks first start happening, can they communicate to teachers?
Well, I think that has been happening.
Well, yeah. Also, I do
happening.
think we have to be mindful that to pull the trigger on having conversations like that before something's finalized creates a lot of conversation and response over something that might not happen.
Once it
happened, everything was completely transparent.
Yes, but that's what I mean, is if we had more transparency in life, even in our relationships, like if a relationship is going bad and both people sense it, but they don't say anything, so it just keeps getting worse and worse, and then it hits, boom, big drama. The same in a corporate buyout. That's what this is.
Yes.
If, it's like, it was happening, no one was talking about it, then it happened, big drama. Whereas instead, if both sides were starting to communicate to teachers, hey, we're starting to talk about this.
I don't think it's going to work
We
like
don't
that.
know if it's going to happen or not, but we're
I'll bring
exploring it.
several hundred people into a conversation,
And it's a
that
couple of
might
people's
not even
decision.
happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you don't think it is a plausible...
Well, I just
means
think
of-
it could create a lot
It's
of
not a
drama
co-op.
where you don't need
It's
it.
not a co-op
Right.
decision. It's
Right.
it's whoever at YogaWorks has the ability to purchase another business, and it's in this case Tim and Tara. You know, and once those two have made their decision, then everybody else that's a part of that mix then needs to get on board and communicate.
Okay, but it's affecting others' lives.
That's their choice. That's
Right.
their
And you know,
That's where we come in as yogis, and how do we navigate, use our practice
yes.
to navigate through these sudden changes, you know, not just as students but as teachers. And we have to, I think, hold that space for the community, you know, that okay, this is happening, you know,
This is happening, and let's see.
you know, we are the front lines of, you know, for our students, you know, or the members, you know, in this case, like, hey, you know, how are you dealing with it? Well, you know, this is change. This is our practice. Is how do we navigate through these changes?
And you know,
How do you live in your practice?
in a practical way, okay, so the changes happen, and if they're not changes that you as a teacher are authentically okay with, then you have a choice.
Exactly.
You can
Yes.
speak about it, you can stay, you can choose to teach elsewhere. There are choices. So rather than, I guess, what I felt I saw was this big bad entity that's going to squash us all and ruin yoga for the Bay Area. You know, how about like, okay, I'm going to use my tools from my practice, and I'm
use
open.
my powers for good.
Yeah, I'm open. I'm going to see what happens, and then I'm going to be self-empowered to make decisions that are right for me.
It does seem like when something grows large, there is a train of thought that it's bad, just because it's so large. You know, Disneyland.
Corporations are not really generally good entities,
Based on what?
based on the fact that just right now we're living in a robber baron society where most of the wealth is held by 1% of the people, and that, you know, and most corporate CEOs' salary is hundreds of times more than their lowest paid worker. So absolutely, there are a lot of feelings around that, and I get that. And I get to accept that this is how the world is today, and to fight how things are is insanity. And I also, side by side, get to take actions in my own life to create and build the kind of life that I want for myself.
Okay, so when you're saying to fight what is insanity, but I also hear you believing you can transform what is.
Absolutely.
Okay, so
Right.
some might,
That's the
semantically,
path
someone
to.
might say that's fighting it. You're
No,
working to
because if
transform.
if I'm acting from a place of aggression and judgment and criticism and
Non-acceptance of
non-accept
reality.
resistance,
Yeah.
then I mean that's just creating a lot of crazy.
Okay, but the energy of Kali, I believe, is real. Anger can transform. I would hope for a better transformation personally, but I think anger can transform.
Yeah, there are
I'm not
times
sure
where it
that
has a
Kali
place.
necessarily acts from a place of anger, though.
I've heard that she's
Ferocity,
the most...
ferocity.
No, but I've also
But
read
those
that
actions are just the next right thing.
yes.
They're the next right thing. When the trees die on, the leaves die on the tree, they're not angry. It's just the next right
Yeah,
thing.
but when she's holding a bunch of guys' bloody heads...
That's awesome.
Oh!
There's nothing angry about that. She's doing her job.
Right.
She's doing her
But
job.
that's what I mean.
It's like when a tiger reaches out. Do
Right.
you think they're angry? Or are they just living their nature?
What about when an angry gorilla stomps on another male and kills it with a big stick?
But do you think that's just their nature or they're angry?
So I think anger is nature.
Interesting. Well, I think we have a topic for another podcast.
Let's go back to
I
corporate.
was lost there. Like, are we talking about animals now?
No, but here's the thing, like a lot of the backlash on Facebook that I'm hearing about
Yeah.
is coming from a place of fear and anger. And I think there's an element that anger is fear, you know, like oh no, I'm gonna lose, you know, and so that's sort of the same coin. And maybe in the big picture, like you're talking about, like you in the back room and you're witnessing all this energy and it throws you.
It throws you.
And that in the big picture is part of your process
It's
of
part
growth.
of the spiritual practice.
For
Okay, this
everyone.
is happening. Where's my center? Where is truth? Let me align with that. And then I deal with the reality in front of me and I make a educated, not a mentally educated choice, but a spiritually educated choice about how do I move forward.
Right.
I think that's what I want us, like you were saying, Dave, to model to our students is I'm at choice here. I'm at choice about how I deal with this. The way that I choose to deal with this shows to my students how I am integrating yoga into my life, because change is going to happen. Good, bad, change is going to happen. It's up to us to do the work and respond in a way that's aligned with that internal truth, that's aligned with what's right for us.
So is it possible, because you guys sound very grounded, you know, the emotions have been grounded, could you reach out to some of the people who aren't grounded, some of the teachers who are still,
yeah.
and are they receptive?
Yeah, and I've seen some beautiful posts, like, bring it on, this is part of life, cool. I've seen some of that.
Well, what about the ones that aren't that? Like, can you reach out to them? Is that a...
Well, I mean, honestly...
I feel it's really like a sensitive
Yeah.
issue for them, and it's just
Yeah.
like you don't want to like push any buttons. Like, okay,
No,
well,
that's what I'm
obviously
saying.
that's the way you feel, and okay.
That's the yoga pose, is you go into their fire, you stand in their oven, and you take that heat, and you reset, you're going, okay, I'll be here with you. Well, you rage and storm.
Yes, and I think we're doing that.
All right?
And I think that as we get to know each other more and more, we'll do it more and more on an intimate level. But right now, I think we're all just holding space.
Like I said in the beginning, with the attitude at YogaWorks that day, the announcement came was, woohoo, our family got bigger. And we can go take classes over there, and they can take classes over here, and we can sub over there, and it's just more, it was literally, yay, more yoga for all of us.
Yeah, definitely. I felt like it's going to open a lot of doors and opportunities for us teachers. And that's the thing, when, you know, of course you got this whole business aspect that's happening around it. What does it come down to? It's you know, we as teachers, what are we doing? We teach yoga.
Yeah.
That's it. Plain and simple. We teach yoga. We're here for our students, and you know, what difference does it make? Who are we working for? I mean, if we don't agree with the people that we're working for, then you know, we have a choice whether to stay or go somewhere else. You know, but we also have a choice on how do we navigate through those changes. You know, it doesn't change the fact that you know, on how I feel about teaching yoga, because I love teaching. You know, this is what I do. You know, because I teach for a corporate company or, you know, this big supposedly evil company, you know, it's like it doesn't change. You know, I'm still doing what I do. You know.
I was talking with a senior teacher a couple of days ago about this podcast, and she was very passionate. She teaches all over the world. She's quite well known, and she was absolutely I feel it is my duty to teach at YogaWorks. I feel so supported. I love YogaWorks. I feel that my duty is to bring the yoga wherever I can and to shine as brightly as I can.
So that is what I see with YogaWorks, having a little bit of a glimpse behind, the door of public and management. At YogaWorks is absolutely wanting to help all the teachers. When a teacher wants to do something that's a special thing, YogaWorks says, here's all the promotional tools we have.
That's what we've seen. I mean, we both went through the transition when it was, Yoga Studio to YogaWorks, and I can say that where we stand right now today, and I've been teaching for 19 years, you're in there too, darn close.
I've been teaching, 14 years, but we've been with Yoga Studio a long time.
It has never been better. When I want to do an event, I got people like her and managers and fellow teachers and a whole team literally conspiring to make my event successful.
Right.
I mean, it's like that. And I have benefits. We've got standards. We have really high standards. We embrace all kinds of yoga. Our studios embrace all kinds of yoga, all kinds of workshops. There's
allow you to be a teacher, and that's what it comes down to.
And they have created a structure where you can build a successful, well-paying career as a yoga professional. And that is pretty exciting. A lifetime career as a yoga professional. And the people I have the fortune of working with many people in the home office in Los Angeles in all the different departments. So when people talk about and demonize YogaWorks as a corporate entity, I know the people that they're talking about, and these are people just like us. Just like all the people at YogaTree, just like all the people that are practicing yoga everywhere. They just happen to also do marketing, to also do retail, to also do human resources, etc., finance, all the different pieces that go into making something work. These are people that are passionate about yoga. Many of them have done yoga teacher trainings themselves and still teach a few classes on the side. So these are not people that the stereotype of like the corporate entity. These are beautiful people, and I know I'm going to sound like a step reply for a brainwashed person here, but I honestly have to say that every experience I have had with YogaWorks has made me a better person. That doesn't mean that they've always been easy, but the communication is conscious and respectful and flexible and clear. And always, always, always there is the support to become the best person you can be. And we're particularly blessed in this region because the woman who runs this region is an absolute powerhouse. Amber Hazor giving you a shout out. But she really sets the standard. She holds the space and just does not allow gossip, negativity, undermining, competition. She says,
the attitude is can do.
We do the best we can. Everybody else that's in the world running their studios, their companies, they're doing the best they can. There's enough for everybody.
I just thought there's one teacher I know who had a run-in. I don't know, and I happened to be in the teacher's course where something came up with a participant, and the participant complained. And when I heard of the complaint, and I thought, that's very strange. That sounds like that person just had a personal thing going on. However, from hearing the teacher's point of view, the corporate YogaWorks took the side of that participant, and my understanding is that teacher went through a lot of chaos. I don't know what this has to do with buying that YogaTree, but here, I guess, it's like we really, like you're saying,
there's no way for things to be perfect.
Right.
We just have to be as skillful and conscious as we can be through whatever arises.
And what I personally believe is Starbucks is fine. Disneyland is fine. They're doing what they do extremely well. And if you happen to be fortunate enough, like if you love coffee and you get into Starbucks, you're going to be with an entity that knows how to do coffee on a global scale.
Yeah, I don't really.
Well, I was gonna say something about Starbucks. It's just, I miss coffee houses. I miss the smell and aroma of coffee houses. So I feel that has missing. I feel like
The
uniqueness of a coffee house. Now you walk in a Starbucks, I feel like I'm walking in the cafeteria. Of course, I'm gonna go there because I'm gonna get my sugar, thing on. But it's just, I miss the very intimate.
But don't you
space
find that the people at Starbucks are so nice?
Well, yeah.
I mean, it has that feel to it, even if it's not.
I'm pretty sure they get paid very well. They get benefits, and they do it with a smile.
Here's what I like. That's, I think, how do we become one? Because that's sort of the big world goal. Like, we all live in peace. We're one, and remain individuals.
That's
all
a
right.
long process.
Here's how I'm gonna.
We are in the Kali Yuga, brother. We got.
All right. Here's how I'm
years.
gonna wrap it up.
All right.
I want each of us to say our bottom line in this whole conversation. Can we do that?
Sounds sensual.
Put it in business terms. What's the bottom line? Dave, how do you
Still
cap
sounds
up?
sensual.
Bottom line.
Well, what do you mean by bottom line?
I mean,
Yeah.
in this big discussion of big bad buyout and corporate yoga, and how do we integrate spirituality and yoga? And the truth is, if we want to teach yoga, we have to do it for money. There isn't a system. It used to be that in India, hundreds of years ago, the yoga teacher was the yoga teacher for the kingdom, for the area, and the king took care of the yoga teacher. All the yoga teacher's needs, monetarily, family, all that taken care of. So the teacher was just able to do yoga and deliver the yoga to the people in the way that they needed it.
Back. That's what I'm talking
That ain't happening. So what we're dealing with is how do we do what we love?
Bottom line.
How do we do what we love and make money, right?
Yeah.
We are offering a very valuable and important service in the world. We deserve to be compensated for that so that we can continue.
Well, we
There
got
are
both
times
things.
when you guys put me in a pose, and I don't think you deserve any of that.
That's all part of it. So that's what I mean. And in this big picture of it all, what's your personal bottom line?
How do I want to end this? I'll let Lisa.
Oh, pass it off. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to say something, but I might want to revise it. So let's not have a hard close to this.
We have a part 2
Let's
today.
not have a hard close. But what I really want to say is that the world needs our love. The world needs our light. And all of this is petty compared to that. We have very important things to do here. The world is dying on every level, and getting caught up and creating a drama around circumstances that are happening, that's distraction. The work is be here now, do what you can with what you've got. I believe that yoga is love, and that my duty is to continue to shine the light on that and bring that out, whatever setting I'm in. If I end up in jail someday, if I end up having a benefactor and getting to, live my life however I want, whatever happens, if I work for YogaWorks until I'm 100, or if I die tomorrow, love and be loved wherever I am.
Okay.
We got to bring consciousness back. We've got to learn how to skillfully deal with each other, because look what's happening. We're killing ourselves literally every day.
Is that a reference into the church killings? Or is that
It
the
is
state
not a
killing?
reference to the church killings, but you
There's a
can
prime
absolutely
example.
include that under
Yeah.
the umbrella.
It's just so strong.
Because we're getting very, it's just, we gotta pan back. We gotta expand our vision and really look at what we're creating, and we've got to work together on this. We have massive potential to rise above all of this as a yoga community and really take over and make our agenda. I'm serious. You can laugh.
I love just the words, the semantics.
I mean, it's happening. People want to live their higher ideals. People want to live in peace and harmony. We know how to help them get there. We've got the tools.
We've got to be examples of it ourselves.
Right.
Yeah. Greg, what's your bottom line? You have an age-old challenge of spirituality and business.
With Jesus, throw the money changers out. No, my bottom line, I think, is really, in just every moment is yoga. Every moment is yoga, and everything going on, and absolutely rise to your highest self, and in doing so, the universe transforms.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm grateful for people like you three who have made a career choice that helps people out.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Dave, are you ready?
I think so. Bottom line, yoga is just that rhythm through life. It's going to go through its ups, its downs, its twists and turns, but in the end it comes back, to the one, your practice. Whether you're practicing in a mom and pop studio or a big corporate studio, whether you're teaching in a mom and pop studio or you're teaching for a big corporate studio, you're teaching yoga. And it's going to go through change. It's going to go through resistance. It's going to have its good times and its bad times. And you're going to meet resistance, and how do you navigate through that? It all comes back to the simple fact that you're aiming towards samadhi. Bottom line, I found yoga in a gym. That was my first experience, and I lucked out because it can go either way in a gym environment. I lucked out with an awesome teacher, an Iyengar teacher, and I clicked. Like, wow, I was in there for just the physical part of the practice. I wanted to stretch my body from years of abuse from skateboarding and snowboarding, and I found something a lot deeper in a gym with a person who taught twice a week there, and I wanted to get more into it, and I it's led me to here. I think yoga is everywhere. Yoga is life. It's how do you stay with it and ride through it, all the weather, that it's gonna, that you're gonna experience. And this is one of those big storms that's coming in.
Mm-hmm.
Navigate through it, That's the bottom line.
And we gotta trust the yoga.
Trust the yoga.
Mm-hmm. We gotta trust the yoga. We can't let the world divide us. We've gotta stay united in that field of whatever we think that yoga is, because we all have our
Unique
connection,
yeah.
and yoga can adapt to all of that.
What's your bottom line?
My bottom line is, to keep doing the work, to keep doing the internal work, to be aligned to my most highest goals. Good skill, good communication, integrity in everything I do, integrity in the way I communicate and treat the people around me, integrity in the way I treat other teachers and students and my children, and to have my eyes wide open and make decisions that are in alignment, with my highest self. And, I don't want negativity and big assumptions and generalizations about anyone. About corporate yoga, about Starbucks, about YogaTree, about who these people are and those people are. I want to stay open. It's basically coming to love, to be strong and clear and loving at the same time, and open to everything. And discerning. It doesn't mean to not be discerning, but to move in the track of positivity, to to move from a place of self-empowerment, trust, faith, and positivity. And anything that doesn't feel positive, whoosh, move right on away.
Right.
If that's corporate yoga, there's a lot of negativity in mom and pop yoga studios too. There's a lot of negativity everywhere. So
Yeah.
I want to skillfully move away from anything that's not on the right path for me and move towards what feels auspicious, best, most highest, positive.
I know you're trying to wrap it up, but I have a question.
That's okay. I'm
So,
good.
because like one of the things I think with the yoga practice is holding a pose as long as you can. There's an element of the resistance in breathing in something that is uncomfortable, and in doing so, you're opening up. So, when turning away from negative things, in essence, like, could there be wisdom in staying with what is negative?
I don't think it's
avoidance.
That's different. Avoiding, it's actually one of the pieces of the Yoga Sutras, the kleshas, to avoid things. It's not avoidance. You have to have that level of accepting what is, but you have to align with that kind of inner compass. And if there's things that aren't in the bigger picture serving, you must put those aside and move along. There is no benefit in staying in something that isn't really supporting your highest good. So sometimes it has to be that ka, I'm out. I love you. I love you.
Namaste.
I'm out.
Goodbye.
Unplug.
Yeah, no, it's
it's the Kali if you want. I mean, there's a strength and a fierceness that yoga brings. That doesn't serve. It doesn't need to be angry. It doesn't need to be out of anything other than love. Thank you, but my path goes this way.
Right. Fully agree. And to just continually to remind people that they get to do that. They get to find their inner authority and their inner wisdom and do that for themselves, that they don't have to be at the whim of an authority, that they become their own authority and they get to discern, am I in this asana, this pose, is it serving me, or is this actually ripping my hamstrings right now? Right?
Do I need
But I
to
should
rip my hamstrings to learn a lesson?
because other people are.
Right.
That's not that
Right.
we want.
You have to be discerning.
We have to be discerning, and we have,
Different than an instant judgment.
absolutely.
Discernment implies wisdom, I think.
Bottom
or
line, child's
presence.
pose is always available. It comes down to it.
But for people with bad knees,
Yeah. Well, they can lie on the back.
you can
Shavasana.
lie on the back.
They
You can
can
come
do
onto your
Shavasana.
belly.
There is something for everyone.
Exactly. Take a restorative.
Yeah.
Take
All right,
take a
well-
chill pill.
I feel pretty good about our discussion.
Very rich. Could go on a long time.
Could keep going on, but
You can have a
Be
part
really
two.
interesting to have some YogaTree people, maybe, at one.
next time maybe follow up. A
That's
couple
good
months
idea.
down the road,
Yeah.
how's it going?
Whenever.
Whenever.
It's just a thought. I mean, there's so many people in the world that I'm
Definitely.
sure that you want to talk
Yeah,
to.
I have
but-
more. I have a list of people I want to yoga chat with.
Yeah.
All right, well, in closing, huge thank you to you guys for your time and energy. Anybody that wants to connect with you can do so at lisamaria.com, or do you have other venues?
Lisa-Maria.com.
Or just Google her.
Mhm.
Dave
You can just find me on Facebook.
Dave
Facebook.
LaRoe on Facebook.
Dave LaRoe Yoga.
Dave LaRoe
Dave
Yoga
LaRoe Yoga,
on
yeah.
Facebook. Greg,
Next to Nikki.
yeah, but you've got your own website, and Greg's doing some stand-up routines.
Yeah.
So gregwilker.com,
.com.
and you can find me, Facebook, Twitter,
Nikki
Instagram,
Estrada.
NikkiEstradaYoga.com.
Very beautiful new website you have, Nikki.
Thank you.
Who made it?
This lovely soul right here. All right, that wraps our first podcast. Thank you, everybody, for
Thank you.
participating and listening. Thank you.
Cool.